Levine, and today I'm going to do an excerpt from my book, Depression, Bipolar, and Heroin. This is chapter 7, titled Developing a Positive Attitude. When I was a boy, I had a negative attitude. I focused on what was wrong and thought about my problems all the time. This enabled me to avoid having to be happy. I was so nervous that it was hard for me to feel okay. As I grew up, I learned that attitude was everything. For years, I worked to surround myself with inspiration and hope. One of the keys to doing this successfully was to repeat affirmations. When I woke up in a bad mood, I'd say, I feel terrific, wonderful, and healthy. In the beginning, it seemed phony, but after months of practice, I began to believe it. I noticed that when I was positive, I felt more alive. Nowadays, I'm almost always happy. I've learned that I don't have to let situations determine my emotions. It all began with traffic. My dad would always get angry whenever we got stuck in a traffic jam. He'd yell, hit the steering wheel, and call himself stupid for getting stuck. When I started driving, I did the same things, but then I realized I was making myself uncomfortable for however long I was stuck in traffic. I decided that I wasn't going to let traffic jams do that to me. I listened to music, laughed, thought of creative ideas, and had fun whenever I got stuck. Now I don't care if I get caught in it. Well, not much. I allow myself extra traveling time when I have an appointment, and if I run into traffic, I don't worry about being late. As I became a happier person, I faced situations that were more difficult to deal with than traffic jams. They included my brother's death due to a heroin overdose, my grandmother's death, and my other grandma's stroke. Some might say that it was okay for me to be depressed in these situations. They'd understand if I fell into addiction as a result. I could easily tell myself that the loss of loved ones gives me a reason to be unhappy, but I chose to not give up feeling good. Am I sad about losing my only brother? More than I know how to tell you. I miss him and would do anything to have him back, but I know that Adam would want me to keep living a good life. It would hurt his soul if I gave up because he's no longer here. The best way I can honor him is to press forward and be happy. Since Adam's died, I become closer to my family. I no longer fear each new day. Instead, I see it as a special gift. I know that I won't always be here and that my life should be as prosperous and joyous as I can make it. My attitude impacts those around me. By living this way, I help my family heal. Xavier was depressed and addicted to alcohol. He told me that life had beaten him down. His mother died when he was 12 and his dad was a cocaine dealer. He lived with his grandparents. His papi and nanny made him feel comfortable and safe. When Xavier was 15, his grandparents both died within a year of each other. He was forced to live with an aunt in Oklahoma. He was beaten at school, ridiculed, and completely isolated. He drank to escape. When we met, he was 23 and struggling. He didn't want to live, and his addiction was consuming him. As we talked, he began to cry. Xavier felt that God had taken everything away from him. I told him that he was right. It wasn't his fault that he'd lost his parents and grandparents. I asked him an important question. What would your mom and grandparents want if they were alive? He perked up and said they would want me to work, to pursue my career as an auto mechanic, and get married. I told him that if he stopped drinking, he could do it. Xavier and I also spoke about his conversations with himself. He told himself that he was a failure, worthless, and a screw-up. I told him that he needed to change the tone of that conversation. Together, we identified things about him that were positive. He's strong, a survivor, good at fixing cars, and kind to animals. Over the next several years, Xavier changed his way of living. He woke up each morning thanking God for giving him another day. His conversation with himself became a positive one. He repeated his affirmations and began to believe that he's a good man. Xavier also became a Christian and went to church every day. He found hope among the other church members and made some wonderful friends. He became an optimistic and joyous human being. Xavier built his own auto repair shop, specializing in foreign cars. He met a woman and fell in love. Eventually, they were married. Xavier and I talked about how proud his family would be of him. He says that he knows his family in heaven watches over him. If you met Xavier today, you wouldn't suspect that he'd been through so much pain and sorrow. He's a wonderful member of his community who mentors troubled youth and gives of his life in many other ways. I encourage you to check out this book, Depression, Bipolar, and Heroin. I'm going to put the link on it on Amazon below, and this story and chapter is there, as well as many other ones talking about mental health and addiction. You have a great day.